You're watching FAM TV, live and direct from the Afrocentric Alternative School.
Hi, I'm Aicha Sedu, and I am watching FAM TV.
Hey, this is Job Productions, and you're watching FAM TV.
This is Dave Mark, and you're watching FAM TV.
This is Jaja Jones, you're watching FAM TV.
It's your boy Bigley, the one and only, and you are watching FAM TV, the Fearless African Movement. All right, Black family, it's your boy Bigley, the one and only, and I'm joined here with my brothers for another edition of FAM TV at the Afrocentric School here in Toronto. And today we're going to talk about politics in the Black community and brothers and sisters running to be in certain offices in our city and how it's going to benefit us. Right, we had an election that passed a couple days ago. It's from the mayor straight down to school trustees to the wards to the MPs, all of that. Right. So we have a brother here that's running for trustee. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and get more into the topic of how it's gonna benefit us if we vote or not vote.
What's going on, FAM TV? My name is Dejmar Clark. I actually ran for a TDSB trustee within Ward 7 for the Toronto District School Board. It was actually Ward 4, and I had the pleasure of running. It was a great experience. I didn't actually win, but I definitely learned a lot, and the next time around I'll make sure I win.
Yeah, good afternoon, FAM TV. I didn't really run, but I was with Amanda coming and helping her, and this was my first experience, and I realized that our people is not for our people. With that experience, so I say we should really stand up and come out for our people. And go into a unity with our people.
Yes, this is me right here, Brother Oneness, aka Brother J. Just Black politics should be a focus for our community. You know what I mean? A Black political structure that we can just govern. Everything that we have around us, govern our schools, govern, anything, housing. There's so much different topics, you could use for the political spectrum. So I believe we should push forward and fight in that area, not just for Black politicians, but also the agendas or the laws that are being in place for our communities.
How you doing, FAM TV? This is Mr. Taylor, Joel Taylor. Yeah, Black politics. It's definitely a hot topic. It's definitely a beautiful thing, but for me, I guess my only issue with it, or really not an issue, my opinion on it is it's great to have ideas. It's great to want to change your community, but then there comes the part where what you want, your ideas and your intentions need to transfer into tangible action. You understand what I'm saying? We can only label our issues for so long until we all know what it is, but then what's the actual solution? What is the process of pushing it forward and getting something physically done in our communities, So that's really where I stand on it, you know what I mean?
So, all right, family, we just talking about Black politics. So my first question to all of you guys is, where do you think our community stands with voting? Because one of the stats was that I think it was a Scarborough community that there was basically, I think it was a percentage of something like 30 to 25 to 30% of that community actually voted. So first of all, what do you think the reason for the non-participation is for our community? And then secondly, what's the reason why we should be participating?
All right, I'll start it off. Me personally, I think the reason is a lot of people have been voting and they're in the same situation. Like I said, tangibility, you know what I mean? Your ideas have to transfer into action. Something has to be done. There has to be results. So I think that's a big part of it. Also, some people just might not be interested at all. You know what I mean? They're making money, they're living well. They don't really care because whatever a politician does doesn't really affect their lifestyle to a certain extent. You know what I mean? But yeah, so
Why should we?
Why should we vote?
why should we?
Because what's the reason for the not participation?
Yeah, like why are we not participating?
Why are we not participating?
Yeah, okay. Like I said, a lot of people don't see action. You know what I mean? And we should vote because, at the end of the day, you can't complain if you don't do nothing. You know what I mean? You can't say nothing, and it's a weird balance because you're like, on the one hand, you have some politicians who promise you everything and nothing's done, but on the other hand, you can't complain unless you don't vote. So it's kind of a conundrum. You know what I mean?
I like
So
that off.
yeah, we gotta find like a solution to that, some way to bring those two together and we can mix it together and get that result that we need.
You have a point, brother, and I agree. But at the same time, I believe that our problem is not just voting with the black community. We need to have politicians that we put our money behind. So that way, if I put my money behind you, you have to do what I ask you to do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. The reason why a lot of the other communities get ahead, especially the white communities, is because they put money behind their politicians. You see what I'm trying to say? Their campaigns are filled with how much millions of dollars. Like when the last president election that Trump just won, right? Because Trump is a billionaire himself, he funded his own campaign, which I looked it up. It was $100 million. You see what I'm trying to say? For that presidential campaign. And he funded it himself. Now imagine the Barack Obamas and the Hillary Clintons. They have to have other people with money backing them. Exactly. So if the black community would realize that, like all of our small entrepreneurs, our small businesses, they could come together collectively and give a politician exactly. You know what I'm saying? And then that politician has to answer to you.
Exactly.
But just going out and checking off something, and they could just look at it and be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're not paying them to do no work.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
You're right.
Yeah, so I agree with everything the brothers were saying. Like within the ward that I was actually running for trustee, it has, I think, the lowest turnout rate for voting in all of Toronto. You know, and even when I was campaigning, there was a lot of people who I would hear say, "No, me not vote, me I vote for Jesus," you know, or the men in the Rasta community. I would talk to them, and then they would be like, "You know, me not vote, blah blah blah, Babylon." And I told them, "Look, man, I have this Marcus Garvey thing. I have this Marcus Garvey picture right here, and Marcus Garvey even ran in Jamaica." You know, so I told them, man, they couldn't say anything to that. So basically, when it comes to our people, we need to be educated on just voting, you know. I understand that a lot of these individuals, they come from Jamaica, they come from maybe Africa, where the politics are, you know, it's really corrupt in those countries. So when they come to Canada, they think it's the same thing. Now, the thing about our country is, we do have the opportunity where we live in a market-driven society where we can put our dollars together, you know, and we can put it behind a political candidate, you know, because it's like I mentioned before, the community that I ran in, there's a large Italian base, you know, and if you look at the individuals who were first, second, and third, it was Anthony Perusa, it was Giorgio Mammoliti, you know the guy who made the cockroach comment, and then it was Deanna Scrow, you know, and then fourth was actually Tiffany Ford. So we have about 40% population of black people, and Tiffany was fourth. And Tiffany had, you know, she had her flyers there, she had her posters, but she still came fourth. You know, and there was no real split of the black vote, so it's unfortunate because we don't actually vote as a people. So we need a political base where, like you mentioned, brother, you know, we can endorse that candidate. So yeah, that's how I feel about voting.
Yeah, from TV, I have it simple. What we need is unity and power. That's all we need. And with this unity and power, we will strive. Because right now they have us in bondage. And what is our bondage? Is our mind. Our mind is in bondage.
What kind of methods are we talking about? Yes, we need those things, but what kind of methodology? How?
We need to come together more often and build ourselves. We need to we have a lot of stuff to do because we are very lost people. So we got to do those things. And the most important thing, unity, we will get love. And
Yes, peace. I understand what the brothers are saying here. I feel that one why we don't participate as much is because they've been voting for a long time and they don't see no changes. But the methodology, the reason why the methodology should change, as what Brother Bigley was saying. You put your money together to back a politician, but also because you give him that money, you give him the agenda that you want for your community. Because if we leave the political structure out of it, right, you don't get the construction, or like you want something built up in your community, you have to go through politics. You want the school changes or laws to change, you got to go through politics. Every time you want certain changes in your community, there's always a political aspect. So sometimes we just skip the political aspect of it because we say, well, it's not doing nothing for us. We have to change the methodology of how we want to go into the political spectrum. That's my thing about it, you know? Peace.
All right, so that brings me to some information about there's a town in Ontario called Shelburne, Ontario. The mayor has just been voted in. It's a black mayor, and he was just a member of the city council in Shelburne, and from that he was open invitation to all black people anywhere in the Canadian atmosphere to come to Shelburne, Ontario, and make Shelburne a black town. Okay, so making a black town and having the majority vote in a town, and municipally it seems to be the best scenario for us as a African diasporic community in a foreign land, which is really our land, but it's being occupied by foreign enemies. And but what I'm trying to say is that in Shelburne, there's actually a model and an opportunity to do this municipally. And what do you guys think about that?
Well, it's my first time even hearing about that, to be honest, you know what I mean? And
No. The mayor's black right now.
Yeah, but
black people come, and it's cheap housing out there. Cheapest housing in
yeah? Shelburne, eh?
And
that's a roll up there, yo.
For under 500,000. North, straight up Highway 9, straight up Highway 10. You mean I lived in Orangeville for how long? It's like 20 minutes north of Orangeville.
Yeah, but like I said, it's my first time even hearing about that. You know what I mean? I think that's a fantastic situation or scenario. Imagine having like an entire community base, like like starting over. Like you're walking on the road and your brothers own their own house, and you know what I mean. And you can see some sort of prosperity starting to happen. Like I think that would do like huge for just collectively the ego of the entire black community. That's crazy. I'm still kind of shocked by it, but like, yeah, man, I think that's great, yo. I think it'd be a great opportunity. I think those who are conscious enough to recognize the opportunity and who are willing to put the work in and bring help bring the necessary environment to make that community successful should definitely take that opportunity up and go. It's got to start somewhere, even if it's out there. You know what I mean? And that could be a model for like anywhere else. You know what I mean? Who knows? Communities might change just based off of knowing that alone. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think it's a great thing, man. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, me too. I think that's a marvelous idea, and what that could do for us if we actually took it up and build out. That'll be like almost building back a modern day Black Wall Street. That's what that's like doing, but here in Canada instead. You know what I mean? And we need that because once we have a community that's thriving off of everything based on us, our mayor's black, our police are black, our teachers are black, businesses, everything, then it's going to be nothing for us to practice group economics. You know what I'm trying to say? The society will be organized. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, man. That's incredible news. You know, just like the brother said, it's an opportunity for us to create another Black Wall Street. Because when it comes to the political platform, just the political spectrum, we can't just focus on politics. We have to focus on politics and group economics. You know, because they go hand in hand. So when we hear the housing rates, we got to know what the housing rates are, because one thing you have to understand is the 6 is only the 6 because of us, all right? It's our culture, our consumerism, our money, you know? So when we go to another town, you know, we got to know the housing rates, because you already know in Toronto, the housing rates are through the roof. You know, it makes no sense to buy a house here because it's unaffordable. It's, you know, so we got to start looking to other cities where we can potentially put our money together, you know, start up businesses, you know, buy a house, you know, and even though it's not in Toronto, I mean, we can make another Toronto up, you know, up the province, you know, and we can, because it's in us. We can do it. We just got to take away that fear, you know, and, you know, and start to build, because we're big consumers, but we're not big producers, you know. So yeah, that's how I feel, man. You know, big up. What's the mayor's name? What's the mayor's name again?
Mayor's name.
I don't know. We'll find out. I'll put it up there.
Big up to that mayor.
Yeah. Basically, I agree with everything that was already stated, because it took the words out my mouth. Black Wall Street. That's what it sounds like, you know, and just black economic progress. You see in houses being owned by blacks, land. It's like a beautiful thing, especially children growing, to be able to see that type of success and just be used to that type of success and just want to emulate that. So if that methodology goes right, you can copy that methodology all over. But as he said, with the housing prices now, there's nothing wrong if you have to drive 20-30 minutes and the 6 is only 20-30 minutes away. I mean, you gotta just be smarter, you know what I mean? You can't want to stay in the city when you know that the housing prices are just out of control. It just doesn't make sense. So it's a beautiful thing. We all, you know, can drive 20-30 minutes outside the city, create your own black industries, and like you said, we're not producing. We could produce outside the city, bring it into the city, and have others consume from us, instead of the other way around, that we're always consuming from others and not producing anything. So we could do that too, you know? So it's a beautiful thing. That's I love to hear not just the struggles we go through, but also the positive things that we sometimes undermine as well.
Let me just ask a next question first. Okay, so I wanted to talk about our ideal politician, right? The ideal politician to represent us. You know, we've had potential politicians before. Maybe if you know, the Black Panthers, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X had collaborated, there would have been more of a solid base for our politics here in North America. But let's talk about what our ideal politician would do and how they would live, and what type of judgments would we have for them. Right? You want to touch on the start?
Yeah, that's a good question he asked there. What we should do is follow what he said with having Marcus Garvey, people like Marcus Garvey, Kwame Ture, and all the great ones who passed before us, who were all the ancestors, and follow in their footsteps, and make sure we follow in their footsteps and do everything, the great things that they've done before us, that we should be doing, and strengthen our community. Most important thing.
The last part you said there about how the politicians should live, you were saying. I think one of the problems is that when we see like politicians and stuff, they mainly are of like a higher class, or they will be more in a rich class, trying to represent people who are not in that same class. So that's why it looks like that you don't represent me. You know, because you're in a different class, so you don't understand the problems, you don't live where we live. So I think the politician should be in the area of where the problems are going on, or at least having an advisor or somebody who's in the area who can say, this is the problems right here in this community. I gotta drive 20 minutes out to get this, or there's so much different issues, you know? So I think that's the main thing, because you can't live outside of a community in just a whole different mind state, a whole different place, a whole different area, and represent for those who are in a different area, in a different place, and then you don't really know the problem, what's happening. And so this is another reason why people stop voting, right? You know, because they're saying the people who's doing it, they don't even know the real issues at hand or what the problems are.
Warmest revolutionary greetings, elders, sisters, and brothers. My name is Sister Tandiwe. I am a proud organizer with the All African People's Revolutionary Party. I am also a lawyer and a mother of 2 sons. I would like to provide some humble input to this important debate about the plight and the situation of our people on a global basis. Because when we talk about politics and organizing and politicians, it has to be in relation to the conditions that we as African people face, not only in Canada, but on a global basis. And the reason I say that is because we are one people. We are African people wherever we are, and Mother Africa is our homeland. On the question of politics, politics should respond to the concrete needs of people in society. So we as African people who were kidnapped from our motherland over 500 years ago need to ensure that the politics that we engage in responds to the needs of our people, the economic needs, the political needs, the educational needs, and so forth. When we look at the system of capitalism that was built off of the exploitation of African people, that was built off of the colonization and destruction of the indigenous people of North America, we see right away that the political system within capitalism was not designed to advance the interests of African people in Canada or around the world. So the political system, by its very nature, is exploitative. The political system is designed to ensure that a small group of people at the top benefit from the wealth of Mother Earth, while the masses of people at the bottom suffer day after day, can't find employment, can't find housing, experience police brutality like our people experience, miseducation of our youth, which is why they turn against each other. So when we talk about politics, we have to look at the concrete conditions of our people and the history of this system of capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy. And we must be very honest with our analysis. This system is not designed to serve the interests of our people. So we must look to our history and our ancestors for a solution. Our ancestors like Kwame Nkrumah tell us that we as African people must organize for the unification of our homeland, Mother Africa. That until Mother Africa is free, economically and politically, we cannot properly provide for our people. We cannot provide proper housing, education, we cannot provide health care for them because we lack what? We lack power, right? And Africa is the richest continent on the earth. And everywhere our people are, we are suffering, we are trying to eke out some existence. And these politicians in the West are notorious for telling us lies, notorious for telling us, oh yeah, change is coming. Well, we've been waiting over 500 years, and we have contributed greatly to this society. And if it wasn't for the blood and the work that we have done as African people through our enslavement, we would not have these societies in the West. So the whole world owes us a debt that they can never fully repay. It is our ancestors' labor that, for example, built up Europe. Read How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Dr. Walter Rodney. And he gives a historical analysis of how the labor of our ancestors built up England, where I was born, built up France that continues to exploit Guinea and other countries in Africa. And many countries of Europe were brought into quote-unquote civilization, which is still questionable, because of our ancestors and their labor. They worked and died in places like Europe and around the world. While the wealth and the benefits stayed there, our people suffered. So when we talk about politics, we have to be very clear that this system of capitalism and white supremacy, which is deteriorating, morally, economically, and politically. It is, as Malcolm X says, a burning house. Do we want to join a burning house? So what we need to do is we need a Pan-African solution, that Africans around the world must look to Mother Africa, like the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said. He said, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad, and organize our politics around the liberation of Mother Africa. Now, obviously, we are here in Canada. So as a tactical move, first of all, not even a tactical move, but as a principled move that's going to help unite us, we should unite our community organizations and work together to impact the system here. You know, because what we're talking about is a goal that every generation of our people has been working towards, and we're getting closer and closer. So first of all, we need to unify our organizations here and build strong economic and political blocs that can speak with one voice to impact the political system here. But the ultimate goal should be to ensure that we build mass Pan-African revolutionary parties all over the Pan-African world that are focused on the liberation of our people. I want to make one more quick point, that this year is the 50th anniversary of the founding of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's party, a Pan-African party called the All African People's Revolutionary Party. And I am a proud member. I've been a member for over 30 years. And there is a major conference coming up in Ghana, West Africa, in December, from the 8th of December to the 13th, to talk about what we as Africans outside of Africa and inside of Africa need to do to move to that final stage of liberating our motherland. Africa is the richest continent on the earth. And when we as Africans own and control the resources, we don't have to worry about jobs. We don't have to worry about education or anything, because our mother will help provide those resources to us. If Haiti has a problem, our people in Haiti, we can deploy airplanes with supplies to her. If Barbados has a problem, we can deploy supplies to her. If our people in Colombia or England have a problem, we will have the political and economic power to deploy supplies and whatever our people need around the world. So again, just to wrap up, politics needs to respond to the concrete needs of our people. This system was not designed for us to benefit. But we live here. We have to be practical. So the most important thing is for us to join these community groups, link them up, build strong political blocks, economic blocks, to influence the system, which to some extent our people have been very good at doing. But the ultimate goal should be for us to organize for the liberation of Africa. Africa is moving towards continental unity, and we have a very important role to play as Africans in the diaspora, and we must be proud of our African identity. Forward to a unified socialist Africa.